Next, we're going to go over before the World Trade Center. So it says here the site, the western portion of the World Trade Center site was originally under the Hudson River. The shoreline was in the vicinity of Greenwich Street, which is closer to the site's eastern border. It was on this shoreline close to the intersection of Greenwich and the former Day Street on the Dutch the explorer Adrian Block's ship Tiger burned to the waterline in November 1613, stranding him and his crew and forcing them to overwinter on the island. They built the first European settlement in Manhattan. The remains of the ship were buried under the landfill. The shoreline was extended beginning 1797 and was discovered during excavation work in 1916. The remains of a second 18th century ship were discovered in 2010 during excavation work at the site. The ship, believed to be a Hudson River sloop, found just south of the Twin Towers, where the Twin Towers stood, about 20 feet below the surface. Later, that area became New York City's Radio Row, which existed from 1921 to 1966. The neighborhood was a warehouse district. There's no picture of that, but anyway, what is now Tribeca and the financial district. Harry Schneck opened the city radio on Cortlandt Street in 1921, and eventually the area held several blocks of electronic stores, with Cortlandt Street as its central access. They used radios were war surplus electronics. Radios, junk, and parts were often piled so high they would spill out onto the street, attracting collectors and scroungers. According to a business writer, it also was the origin of the electronic component distribution business. Establishment of the World Trade Center. The idea of establishing a World Trade Center in New York City was first proposed in 1943. The New York State Legislature passed a bill authorizing New York Governor Thomas E. Dewey to begin developing plans for the project, but the plans were put on hold in 1949. During the late 1940s and 50s, economic growth in New York City was concentrated in Midtown Manhattan. To help stimulate urban renewal in Lower Manhattan, David Rockefeller suggested that the Port Authority build a World Trade Center there. Plans for the use of eminent domain to remove the shops, Radio Row bounded I'm trying not to read all this to you guys, that's my thing, but I forget where I was, quite honestly. So let's just start right here. Initial plans made public in 1961 identified a site along the East River for the World Trade Center. As a bi-state agency, the Port Authority required approval of new projects from the governors, both New York and New Jersey. New Jersey Governor Robert B. Maynard objected to New York getting a $335 million project. Towered the end of 1961. Negotiations with outgoing New Jersey Governor Maynard reached a stalemate. Development. Design. On September 20th, 1962, the Port Authority announced selection of Murner Yamasaki as lead architect and Emery Roth and Sons as associate architects. Yamasaki devised the plan to incorporate twin towers. His original plan called for the towers to be 80 stories tall, but to meet Port Authority's requirement for 10 million square feet of office space, the buildings would each have to be 110 stories tall. Yamasaki's design for the World Trade Center unveiled to the public on January 18th, 1964. Windows 18 inches wide. His design included building facades. I don't even say that right. Clad in aluminum alloy, the World Trade Center was one of the most striking American implementations of architect ethic of Lee Corbusier. Was the seminal expression of Yamasaki's Gothic modernist tendencies. He was also inspired by Islamic architecture. So he was inspired. So let me just say, so Yamasaki was inspired by Islamic Saudi Arabian architecture. So do you think, comment down below, but do you think that maybe that's why they did what they did to the Twin Towers? I don't know. I don't know. I'm obviously not condoning what they did, because what they did was really wrong. But, I mean, all of us really wish it wouldn't have happened. But that's really interesting to know that when I look at old pictures before the 9/11 attack, and I look how beautiful it looks on the inside, the images that I see on the inside, I'm like, this is so beautiful. So, I mean, I don't know, it was really beautiful. So it says here, view from the ground in 1999, South Tower lobby overlooking the elevator core and red carpet from the balcony, 1988, North Tower lobby looking south along the east side of the building in 2000, so a year before it happened. So here's the World Trade Center Plaza in 1976. Here's in 1975. I mean, it's really, really messed up what happened. And then in the next few videos, we'll read what happened during the bombing, the robbery, and other events. So stay tuned. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe.